I am I'm on Facebook, yay, Facebook Live, with Anna Teeples, and I am Chris Rouse, and we are talking about astrology and the Applied Astrology School. And Anna was one of our students who came through my class just this past spring and did level 1 with me. And so, Anna, tell me a little bit about what you came in, like why you chose to take this class and how you wanted it to help you in your business.
So, yeah, I have always been familiar with astrology kind of on a surface level and as a hobbyist, as I would say. And I do home design and do home design with feng shui. So what I really felt really drawn to do was to understand more about people's individual, I kind of call it more like we have a thumbprint, and so we have something kind of like a soul print. And if I was able to know more about them, it helped me better. And one of the most easy ways to know more about people, I felt, was like through their natal chart. So I didn't necessarily want to be an astrologist, and I feel like I got to know people through your class to say, hey, if you really want to go deeper, but I felt like I needed to speak the language and to know enough to know, to be good enough to talk, like to know what I was talking about. Yeah. And that's what really level 1 did for me. And I feel like I'm always like sponging in more information.
Right. Right. So it was enough of the basics, like you said, to be able to have the language, to be able to not only speak to clients, but maybe even to help understand them a little bit better, or in that kind of way.
Yeah. I look at it like we all speak different. I call it a modality. We all speak different languages. What's really interesting to me is when I do bring it up with my clients, this is the number one modality they want to speak about. They're like, oh, yes, let me give you my birth information on my natal chart. And I do what I call is kind of like I get the basic information I need, which is like the sun, the moon, the rising. I'm particularly interested in Venus and some other things, so I can translate it back into elements and yin and yang. But then they actually want to ask a lot more questions about astrology. And I'm like, ooh, this is when I would, here I know a lot of Deb Silverman certified astrologists I would recommend that you talk to, because that's where I kind of draw the line between, I am just using it as a tool, but I am not the person who is like going to be able to give you a reading and help you understand what this means to you specifically. So.
Right. And that's what's so cool. I love about I wanted to interview you, because I wanted you to be able to share with people, just even in our level 1 experience, how, people they don't have to come in and want to be an astrologer. It helped you understand yourself a little bit better, as well as give you the tools to be able to speak to your clients and all that.
Yeah. And they really do appreciate it. And a couple of them have, I had a husband who his wife was really into it, has always had an interest in astrology, and her husband, not at all. But when I explained it to him why I wanted it, he's like, and I gave them just some more elemental type of information. And I said, oh, I can see clearly why you two are together and why you match so well. And his ears perked up, and he was kind of like, ooh, do tell me more. And so it really, I think, opened some things up for them. And so they clearly wanted to know more he wanted to know more about himself that he never would have actually probably ever wanted to know more about. So.
Right. And then you applied it, I saw that you created it one time. You and I were looking at a whole presentation in a way of how you could match them up, and then relating it to how their design, individual footprint or thumbprint would be as well. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's what's really exciting is, so this whole new methodology that, thank you, Chris has done some great coaching with me on that, is called Soul-Centered Home, which is about that, which is taking this to build a soul print so someone can then get feedback and saying, oh, right, I am more yin based or more yang based. And that couple that I just mentioned, they were one of my prototype couples, and they were all air and, what were they? Air and fire. They had, air and water. He had a little bit of fire, but neither one of them had earth at all.
Right.
So as we were working on their kitchen design, we really went back to, they had a lot of yang, very little bit of yin. And so we were kind of going back to, okay, let's make choices around materials and things that will help ground you. I mean, it was all about grounding and bringing restoration and rest and slowing down. And so when they got into that mindset, they're like, oh, that's exactly what we're craving. So it wasn't even a big sell. They understood it right away. And I did a little report based on their natal chart.
Yeah.
And he didn't really even have to know, well, what does it mean that I have a sun in Leo? You know, he didn't like, it was just enough for him to understand, okay, that was a fire sign and that's yang, you know, so that's all that he got that. So,
right. So I love that. So when we really talk to people about level 1 is applied astrology, usually we're using it for the self, like helping you understand yourself better, which you did as well, you know, and that was, but you had also come through one of our weekends where we had really went in deep and did all that stuff too. But I love this way of like just knowing and sharing with others that way that they can bring it into whether it's their design business or their graphic design business or into their Reiki business or any, like there's so many different modalities and businesses, it seems like that this could really fit in, that you can use the language of astrology without having to actually use the language of astrology. Right?
Yeah, and so what I've found in my business over time, because I've been doing feng shui for more than a decade, and I found that sometimes words themselves can turn people off. So I don't use the word feng shui out the gate. I say energy. And so I say to people, hey, I want to help to understand your inner architecture so we can define your outer space, your outer architecture. And they're like, I am all for that. And I say, great. So let's talk about how we can understand that. There's one really easy way to do that. And like one way would be to understand your natal chart. And they're like, oh, well, that's easy. And I was like, you know, but if I start by saying, hey, we're going to talk about astrology, sometimes I see like the ears go down, and that go through like misperceptions, like the baggage they carry from history of childhoods and religions and this and that. But if you choose like the different like ways to talk about it, 90% of the time I get the open door approach, which is I'm so happy to talk to you about it. So
right. And it's such a science, you know, that matches the science that you do. So it's like the inner science, as you said, the inner architecture matching the outer world, like that. It's scientific based on both sides, you know. So it's just so beautiful that you've been able to marry those two, and that it's actually come together the way that you had hoped when you first went into the class.
Right. Yeah. And I constantly get reinforced. It's amazing. I was at my dermatologist's office the other day, and I just happened to be mentioning this to the nurse, and she's like, oh, this is so exciting. The doctor walked in, and he's like, I want to know more about this. It's like, it's so rapidly that people are so willing to say, I want to know more about myself so I can know more about what I can do in my own home. Like so it's very validating, and it's all based on the fact that, and for me, like having like, you know, I think what I loved most about doing level 1 was the fact that it gave me, like I felt like was a core set of language and principles that I could speak in like in the everyday man's language. Like I wasn't talking out in some woo-woo world.
Right. Which is what we talk about a lot with applied astrology, right? Is that ability to be able to speak English, you know, or just speak like very simply so that people are like, oh, I get it. Like that husband that you were talking about. Yeah. It changed his world.
Yeah. You know? And I think it also, and I so appreciate about level 1, you know, the bucket of astrology is really, really big. It's like coming down and saying, you know, what's my core? What do I really need to pay attention to? And that really helped me, because it's like, I don't think I could be where I am today with all the design. Like this is a huge integration of things. Right. And I don't think I could be where I am if I hadn't had that ability to like kind of sift through it and figure through. But you helped me with that, like
because we looked at timing, and that's all level 2 stuff, right? So that the pieces that's where we go into the timing part of stuff and the ability to look at the transits and where things are happening. And I said, Anna, you've got a big change coming this year. Let's talk about how we're going to ground this in, right? And so and
it's interesting because like there's that whole FOMO thing where it's like, should I be doing level 2? Am I missing out? And, you know, I think it was really good. Like you and I had a big discussion on a personal level. Yeah, I think level 2 is on a personal level. I would be interested in level 2, but for where I am right now and my business and what I want to do and how I want to really launch and get soul-centered design really with traction, no, level 1 was like perfect, like exactly fit the bill to a T. So and level 2 will be there, you know?
Exactly. And we do have people who do that. So like when you've kind of gotten to the place and you're ready to go to the next level, there is that opportunity because the aspects bring in so much of that part of it that, you know, which we do in level 2, or even the houses, you know, which relates to the houses, right? That all is level 2 stuff. So it's kind of cool that, like, you know, you've got the first, as you say, the prototype and the beta and the first part of it. And then, you know, as you want to maybe fine tune it or whatever, it's there for you to come back to and take level 2 or however that wants to work. So that's so good. But I just loved your example of how you've really been able to integrate it and bring it in with the Enneagram and other kinds of things like that. But I did not know that astrology was the one piece that people are always like, tell me more, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually so interested in like how willing that is. And even though the Enneagram, that is another I always say that's another modality people may speak, because I kind of look at it like it's a language, a language that people want to know more about themselves. That even though that's kind of like a hot topic right now, it's, what I have found it to be generally, it's fairly flat from a dimension standpoint. It doesn't offer as much richness in what I'm trying to do, which is giving you a better idea how your house needs to support you.
Right.
So I actually get more information from the natal chart.
I love it. That's good to hear. All right. For all of those who are thinking about like, why would I want to take Applied Astrology Level 1? You just heard a whole nother reason from Anna Teeples. Thank you so much for joining me today, Anna.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you too.